Welcome to Vice and Easy, your podcast for all things Miami Vice, with your host, Marina. Hello, and welcome back to Vice and Easy. We are here. We are at the end of Season 4. This is the last episode of Season 4, and the next time you'll hear me, we'll be discussing Season 5. That's pretty crazy to think about. So let's just go for it. This week, we are breaking down Season 4, Episode 22, entitled Mirror Image. Per IMDb, the synopsis is as follows. Head trauma from a massive explosion causes Crockett to believe he is his alter ego, Sonny Burnett. So, a lot to recap here, but let's do it very quickly. Sonny has had a rough couple days. He's been shot. He's been under surgery 3 times, close to his spine. His pregnant wife was killed and died in his arms by an old adversary. So he's had a pretty rough go of it. And when he sits down with Tubbs, he wants to go undercover and do this deal. Tubbs, naturally, like any one of us would do, tries to advise him against it. But again, Crockett is Crockett, and he will not be swayed in this first clip.
You didn't bring a coat.
It's gonna be hot out there once the sun comes up.
Are you all right?
I'll be okay.
Maybe too hot.
Don't nurse me, Rico. I said I'd be okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, man. It's just that everybody's smothering me with such well-intentioned concern. I'm about to go nuts.
My son going undercover in the midst of a high-level mob summit. It's not exactly R&R.
Going fishing.
So going fishing, he will actually be going fishing. Let's give him credit for that. But he's talking about this, I don't want to say summit, but this meeting that is going to be taking place between Manolo's goons, another bigwig, and Gutierrez, a bigwig. And so Crockett wants to get in there, and he wants to be able to get under Gutierrez's skin, try to get him to turn on Manolo, therefore giving him more information. As you can tell by the synopsis of this episode, we know it's going to happen, but let's just have fun with it anyway. Also, keep in mind, we all know where this episode is headed. So when Gutierrez is describing Burnett as who you will hear in this clip, this is very funny.
I was just telling my people there that Sonny Burnett, he's the Henry Kissinger of the Dade County underworld.
I'm just going to redirect you to the gallery. I want you to see Gutierrez's outfit. It gets better throughout this entire episode. And if he looks familiar, that is Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch. That is the driver in the Everybody Backstreet's Back video. This is a man who contains multitudes. This is Antonio Fargas. And I love also, you can hear that Sonny is literally fishing. He has a marlin hooked. The B-roll switch, it's like such grainy, crappy B-roll. It's just very funny. Then the Henry Kissinger comment. He is a former Secretary of State for the United States government. Quite a controversial figure. Please feel free to look him up. He has a very extensive resume that I will not be going into here. So that is a very interesting comment by Gutierrez. Now, Crockett, as Burnett, explains to Gutierrez how he is able to get so much information. And as a former service industry worker, I 100% agree.
So, Jess, you know how the go-betweens always know more about the people they're dealing with than the people themselves do? You know?
No? What?
For example, got the lowdown on Manolo's plan to squeeze you out. It isn't pretty.
I'm listening.
Now, naturally, that kind of information is pretty valuable.
Naturally. And I'd be willing to...
Gentlemen, Mr. Manolo was sorry that he could not personally be here.
I really think that's interesting because that is kind of looked over. I will bring this back to a comparison. Don't roll your eyes at me just yet. But TMZ, that is how they were able to get so much breaking news, is because they did talk to a lot of people who were go-betweens in a different sense. You know, people who would work as nannies, butlers, drivers, bartenders, valet. They had all the gossip and the intel, and they were able to sell that to TMZ. Not that I agree with that, but it also is something to just keep aware of. If you are running a drug conglomerate, just be careful of what you're saying and where you're saying it, because walls have ears. But now this is very interesting, thinking about this boat and this meeting. So all of Manolo's goons are here. Gutierrez is here. Burnett is here. Manolo himself isn't here. This makes me feel uneasy just as an audience member. Now, this didn't really come as a surprise to me. I did love the visuals. Again, I'm going to redirect you to the gallery, which you can see for every episode of Vice and Easy. You can always see it in the description notes at the episode on wherever you get your podcast. Now, the ashtray being right above the bomb really made me laugh. But Gutierrez is setting that bomb off. He goes back up to talk to Burnett, trying to get him to come with him. Burnett is too focused on his Marlin. I am not even going to bring up the old man and the sea.
You better come with me.
No way, Alejandro. I'm locked in mortal combat.
No time for explanation.
Oh, here she goes again.
Well, I think Burnett should have followed his lead. You see, again, I have a gif of this, where Crockett gets startled once he sees Gutierrez just jump overboard onto a cigarette boat that's passing by. We see Crockett jump out of the chair. We don't know what happens to him. Then we cut to a shot of the boat blowing up. I think that Crockett should have had an inkling that something could have gone wrong, because he knew that he was stoking a fire between Gutierrez and Manolo. Manolo's not there. All of Manolo's goons are out there. Gutierrez is outnumbered. Gutierrez now knows that Manolo is working against him. I think if someone is offering you or telling you it's time to get out, it is time to get out. That's all I'm going to say. So after the credits, we stop back at OCB. We see Gina and Trudy looking bereft, naturally, at the news that Crockett is nowhere to be found after this explosion. Tubbs goes in, opens Manolo's file, writes some stuff down. Now, the paper that you see on screen is for Joseph Anthony Padilla. You see a few notes about Sylmar Juvie. Sylmar is kind of like a suburb here in Los Angeles. And you see that it's the Los Angeles Police Department arrest report. So we know that this is not Manolo's file. It's one of his goons. Then we cut to Crockett on a bed. Looks like a hospital bed. But once we get another shot, we see that this is not a professional hospital in the sense of the word. This looks more like an asylum or an estate. I think it's an asylum. And we see two doctors looking at Crockett when he wakes up, with Gutierrez smoking a cigar. Keep that in mind. That's actually very pivotal for the plot, as Crockett doesn't remember anything that's going on. Gutierrez, however, very much wants him to regain his memory because it's very much in his interest to do so.
Brain has its own timetable. I wouldn't want to rush it.
Of course not. You want to prolong this high-priced medical fraud. Amnesia, schizo breakdown, whatever. Slap him back together. He has to report to Mr. Manolo.
My notes say, poor guy. Slap him back together after he's been shot, become a widower, and now blown up. So the doctor is trying to give Burnett, sitting in a wheelchair in a white, empty, sunlit room. This is also why I thought asylum, very much kind of reminding me of the asylums of yore. He slaps the meds out of the doctor's hands, said, like, what you doctors got, I don't want. The doctor, again, concerned for his safety, because as Burnett is trying to piece together his memory, the doctor is rightfully concerned for him.
Yeah, I'm Sonny Burnett.
What you are, what you do.
No.
You drive a Ferrari sports car. Keys are in your pocket. Police are looking for you. And my guess is that you're a drug dealer. Of course, that's your business, but I just wanted to forewarn you because Mr. Gutierrez, he's a cold-blooded man, believe me.
Why should I?
Well, you don't have to. Just might save your life, but that's up to you.
Okay, well, let's see where this takes us. We are off to Manolo's in Fort Lauderdale. Guess who we have as a guest star as Manolo's personal assistant? It's a very young Julia Roberts. And this is a fun fact I found, that Crime Story was actually her first IMDb credit. That's pretty cool. Now, Manolo gives Burnett the tour. Speaking about the past, Manolo is showing off his retired prized cockfighting roosters, basically, you know, as a reminder of where he came from. He's a little dismissive of Burnett's amnesia, which unfortunately all these bad guys are. I understand these are not ones to, you know, sympathize when they need him to do what he needs to do for this deal, but just seems very dismissive for a man. There's a reason why he is forgetting.
Cheer up. Some of us would be happy to forget the past.
Easy for you to say. You didn't bring me here to talk about the past.
You're quite right. I got plenty of things for you to do once you're rested and ready.
Like I said, I'm ready.
Okay? Whoever sabotaged my peace conference on the boat there, he's out to stir things up in Miami.
You mean set up a little side action for himself?
The word little isn't in my vocabulary, Mr. Burnett. We're talking $400-500 million a year. Anyway, get to the bottom of it for me.
The underlying theme of this episode for me is going to be, I'm playing both sides, so I always come out on top.
I'm playing both sides so that I always come out on top.
And then my other note for this next clip is we're all looking for the guy who did this, because Burnett, I also want to commend the team's styling of Burnett. I am really enjoying it. I do not like the sunglasses. They kind of are a little too like Oakley-ish wraparound for me. Again, I'm saying this 40 years into the future with a very different connotation, but I just don't like how reflective the lenses are and how wide the lenses are with the sunglasses. I think the Wayfarers and the Persols that he was wearing earlier definitely suited his bone structure better. However, I digress. Now, Gutierrez, remember, we saw him smoking a cigar, looking fine in that weird asylum. All of a sudden now, he has a cast on his arm. Isn't that interesting? I guess he has a sling. I can't see, there might be like a little cast or like a little wrap, but that's interesting. What's that Cardi B thing? That's suspicious.
You
Miguel and I have to put our heads together. Figure out who interrupted our little powwow out there on the water.
Got any ideas?
Not yet. Sonny, you were about to tell me something out there. Something about Mr. Manolo, remember?
Afraid not. What happened? You hurt your arm?
Hurt my... You're a kidder. Anyway, this thing is coming off tomorrow. Maybe you'll be as fortunate with your memory. We were both lucky we weren't blown to freaking bits.
The acting of just trying to be like, yeah, I was injured in this accident with his arm. Like, he totally forgot he was wearing this sling. Like, that's how I interpreted it. So this is where we're going to leave them for right now because I want to go check in with Tubbs. Tubbs is scoping out Manolo's Miami spot. Now, empty. He's seeing like old mail, looking for some addresses. And the theme that's playing is Rico's Blues. I wrote down Animal Crossing, but yes, it is Rico's Blues. So after he leaves the abandoned office with, a few pieces of mail, some more information, we see him walk to a very wild pool party. He's asking for a woman named Doris. Someone points and directs him towards her. He walks by a shirtless guy flexing, some very interesting characters by the pool, and a very wildly dressed woman in a yellow one-piece halter, pink flower earrings, a pink bow headband, pink pearls, bangle bracelets, fishnets, high heels, a yellow, like a chiffon kind of cover up. It's not really a jacket. It's like mesh, like it's see-through, with a blue parasol and yellow sunglasses, smoking a cigarette. This is a whole look. Again, stressfully dumb. Tubbs is not having it. I don't think you can hear it in the scene, but you see him take the cigarette from her and hold it in front of her as he's like, I'm not playing anymore.
I didn't figure you'd come here for a quick dip.
Do you work for Energy Corporation?
Oh.
Energy Corporation, care of Doris Gumble, 120 Ocean Drive.
Okay, so I used to.
I'm not in the mood for games, Doris. I want to know where I can find Mr. Manolo, and I want to know now.
Lester heard he moved everything out of Miami.
Where to?
Lauderdale.
Ooh, okay. Very important information. Now we are going to a party at Manolo's where Crockett, now Burnett, I'm going to do this all episode, just bear with me, where Burnett is talking to Holly Wheeler, Julia Roberts, the assistant of Manolo's, who also runs the art gallery, who apparently lives in Manolo's house. I've seen a few movies about this. I would not be hitting on or trying to hook up with the live-in assistant of a crime boss, big wig, whatever you like to call it. I'd be steering clear of that. So there's a little bit of advice for you. Now, again, make your way to the gallery because the prop bottle of Jack Daniel's Kentucky whiskey strikes again. It looks, I couldn't zoom in on it. It also looks, the bottom left-hand corner, that there is a rocks glass full of cigarettes. They look like it has a white filter, so maybe they're Parliaments. I cannot deduce every time I zoom in. It could be like little straws, but like the short paper straws are only a recent thing. This would not have been around in the late 1980s. Also, I really love the champagne flute that Julia Roberts is drinking out of. I love the texture of it. It reminds me of a flower. I like her outfit. I like her hair. She is very naturally beautiful, and I really like her in this scene. But this is the clip of the conversation I really wanted to get and to bring to your ears.
I like hoods. They're so much more upfront with their treachery.
Just kind of a funny way to phrase it. I understand what she means, especially I do tend to have a soft spot in my heart for certain male celebrities whose transgressions and personal lives I do not agree with. And then I have like a huge dislike of certain people who are just kind of annoying but actually haven't done anything criminal. And that's kind of a way of thinking too. I'm like, at least they are who they are and they're upfront about who they are. They're not trying to be Mr. Nice Guy. But this party is kind of vivacious, kind of fun. We hear Echo and the Bunnymen in the background as Burnett gets the opportunity to really check in with Gutierrez and his arm.
You know, I did remember one thing.
What's that?
I remembered seeing you light a cigar when I was in the hospital. With that arm.
What are you talking about? You were out of your gourd at the hospital. You were seeing spiders on the walls. Remember? I'm talking about...
What are you getting so defensive about? You don't have anything to worry about. Do you?
I, for one, am kind of here for Burnett. I really like how he operates. And I also like when people play bad really well. Like, Richard Gere is so much better when he's bad as opposed to being like the wronged husband and unfaithful and, you know, the poor rich boy and Pretty Woman. No, give me Tony from Looking for Mr. Goodbar. Like, that's what I want. That's who I want in my movies, in my TV shows. But this kind of seems like the walls are closing in on Gutierrez. At least Burnett knows his secret, and Burnett has that circle of trust with Manolo.
Alejandro's your man.
What?
That hurt arm of his, it's bogus. I saw him fire up a stogie back in Miami with both hands.
After the explosion? Alejandro. The man insists on forcing my hand. Gino, you have a deal to take care of? Get going.
I'll go with.
No, you stay here. Get some rest.
I don't need rest. I like to stretch.
Back at OCB at night, again, Tubbs and Castillo really need to work on work-life balance, especially Castillo, because Tubbs, in the dark, is getting some things from his office. Castillo asks him what he's doing. Castillo doesn't buy Tubbs's vacation plans. You can see me doing the air quotes in your mind. And basically tells Tubbs that it's in Lauderdale's hands now. Originally, when Crockett was presumed to be dead, Castillo told Vice that it's in Homicide's hands. Now it's in Lauderdale's hands. So I also understand how Tubbs just feels kind of powerless. And again, like you said, there's no body, there's no proof, there's no nothing. So I get it. Back with Burnett, he is, as we like to colloquially say, Breaking Bad when a deal is going down. And again, I have a gif of the guy popping out of the trunk, but Burnett is running the show and he has 0 F's to give.
Who cares? I got an idea. This way. Move! Get in there. Get in there. Get in there. Boys, behave.
So that's Crockett ordering these guys. After shooting one of them and taking the case, holds them at gunpoint and makes them get into the trunk. So let's keep that in mind. Like, this is not just undercover. This is Burnett. Back at Manolo's house, he's cleaning his gun when Holly comes up and tells him that he's expected to come to an event in about an hour.
It's just like summer camp, huh? You always this efficient?
Not always. Sometimes I come on undone.
Their faces are about an inch apart from one another. They look like they're about to kiss.
I noticed.
It's cold, Burnett.
This is so funny. Because, yeah, like, I understand that he's a guest of Manolo's, but in these situations, which we have seen play out many times in the series so far, when you're at someone's house and they have that power over you, or they're trying to ingratiate you with their social network and their gang, it just is so weird. And especially the women, like, using them as a pawn in order to get information. I wish Burnett would be a little bit smarter to not fall for that. Let's go back to Tubbs. He's at the precinct in Fort Lauderdale. He wants to get some information. Turns out he has an old friend, of course. And, you know, when you play that catch up, you haven't seen someone in a while. This is his.
Yeah. Sergeant Rolando Jordan. Got your own office.
Yeah, well, be it ever so humble, but it's home, you know.
You married?
Yeah, man.
Is it love?
It's legal.
Their reunion gets interrupted by another officer. The guest star is Chris Cooper. You might not recognize him from something specific, but you would definitely know that face. I know him from Adaptation, but he's been in a lot of stuff. Very prolific actor. But just, again, remember that as we continue on with the story. Tubbs then tells his friend about Crockett, and he's trying to fish for information on Manolo. Sergeant wants him to back off a little bit because it turns out that Manolo has a leak in the department. They haven't figured out who it is, and that 2 undercover officers were already killed. Internal Affairs is investigating. So obviously he's very hesitant to give out information that could get him or Tubbs or anyone on his force killed. Tubbs is kind of cold at the end of this, and he goes, a lot of things have changed, and makes a face. I was like, I'm actually on the sergeant's side here. Like, he doesn't want anybody else to die. I think that's totally fair. I understand that Tubbs is just looking at this from, I need to solve this problem and figure out what happened to my partner. But his friend also has other things to consider. Speaking of Manolo, back at Manolo's house, Gutierrez is walking around in this bright neon yellow mesh long-sleeved faux turtleneck button-down shirt with an undershirt underneath. I'm like, you know what? At that point, just take off the undershirt. Just go full mesh, nipples out, everything. This is a wild, wild outfit. When he and Manolo are talking, they mention Burnett's windfall. And Manolo suggests that Gutierrez take him with him to make this deal. Grabs the briefcase, and my notes go, ooh. Now Gutierrez and Burnett are waiting on this drop. There's a very fancy car phone involved here, which you'll see at the top of the gallery. But Gutierrez feels that something is amiss. Burnett confirms that this was not as it seems.
The deal doesn't go down because a deal doesn't exist. Am I right? Burnett.
Manolo knows you planted the bomb.
Is that the little news item you've been saving for me? Correct me if I'm wrong. Miguel wants me in the past tense. Is that it? You're gonna make a good company man, Mr. Tight Lips. But I think you'd make a better partner. Come on. I gotta do a song and dance here. You're smart enough to know you ought to be cut in on the principal profits.
And then I'm smart enough to know that I don't need a partner to tell me that.
Ooh, this is getting interesting.
Maybe your judgment is a little cloudy.
No, actually, my recall is starting to work just fine.
Why is that?
I just remembered what it sounds like when you cock a 38.
Then he shoots Gutierrez, and we just end the scene on the exploding glass from the car window. So goodbye, Gutierrez. Let's check back in because Manolo is, again, tending to his prized cockfighting roosters and praising Burnett. But this is when it gets interesting. Tubbs is in his very cute little oceanside hotel room, and he gets a call from the sergeant.
I just had a body wash ashore, one Alejandro Gutierrez.
Up here in Lauderdale?
Yeah, that's why I thought it was strange. Now, didn't you say he went down on the same boat as your partner?
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Well, autopsy says differently. There's no indication here of an explosion or drowning.
What?
Gunshot wound to the head, and within the last 10 hours.
Are you sure about this?
Right in front of me.
I gotta make contact with Manolo. It's the only way we've got into this thing, Ro. And you know that.
Well, you're gonna have to do that on your own. IAD will have my badge.
Just point, and I'll find my way.
Well, he runs a trendy dockside gallery called Feature.
He launders a lot of money through it. Just be careful.
So now that Tubbs knows that something weird is going on, Crockett's body never washed up, and then another man who supposedly perished in this explosion, his body washed up with a gunshot wound in Fort Lauderdale. So Tubbs is on it. He pulls up to the house. Why do you recognize this house? Because it's the pink house from No Exit. And now it's been kind of reformatted to be this gallery, but it still has a place in our hearts. This is when Tubbs meets Holly Wheeler. I also think that it's so serendipitous, completely a coincidence. Please look at the gallery where you can see Manolo watching Tubbs talk to Holly Wheeler as he's watching them on CCTV with impeccable audio quality, right?
Well, I'm sorry we don't have anything that runs to your taste here, Mr. Cooper.
Well, I was wondering if maybe perhaps that situation might be remedied. Perhaps I meet with Mr. Manolo.
Mr. Manolo doesn't make himself available to amateur investors.
Here's the number of my motel. Tell Mr. Manolo that I'm in town for a couple of days and I'm far from amateur. Ciao.
And what's funnier is that I thought I had the clip, but it's just of the score because it's Marina from The Great McCarthy. So instead of the conversation, basically Tubbs is trying to make a deal with Manolo. Holly Wheeler is very adamant that Manolo doesn't, get involved, but this is Tubbs' way in to get closer to find out what happened to Crockett. But not to make everything about me, but this is Marina. And again, Manolo is watching this whole conversation go down between Holly and Mr. Cooper. So this is when Tubbs goes back to his friend, the sergeant, and wants front money to be able to make a deal. He wants $10,000. Again, $10,000 in Miami is one thing, but as the sergeant says, it's a lot different in Fort Lauderdale. Tubbs is persuasive, and then Tubbs also wants to deny backup as well. Sergeant puts it as a requirement and also mentions wearing pounds, which we will see later. Then let's check in with Manolo and Chris Cooper. This is, again, you can see this at the top of the gallery, Manolo's very sun-blocking sunglasses with the receding hairline. And please tell me I have this clip. Oh my God.
To me with this sooner.
Because it just happened. And besides, there's been a sudden lack of movement on anything related to the file as of late.
Specific orders?
Indirect from Jordan. He didn't want any movement on you at all.
Then why does this Cooper?
It's Tubbs. Cooper is his cover.
And his interest in me?
He's looking to avenge his partner's death. The guy supposedly bought it undercover on a boat. In an explosion.
What was this cop's name?
Crockett. Sonny Crockett.
This moment of realization, Manolo looks over the balcony at Burnett, who I think is just chilling and reading at this point. But Cooper brings up a good point. Like, if he's undercover, he's out of his mind because he is killed for Manolo multiple times. So this is a little bit strange, but this is how they are viewing the puzzle pieces. Well, again, Manolo brings Burnett in, talks about a freelancer who wants to make a deal, blah, 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 gets him to take on this deal. Unfortunately, this is when Crockett and Tubbs meet in an alleyway with great neon backlighting during a lightning storm. I don't see any rain, as we got like a pulsing song playing in the background. That's Money God by Big Pig. Never heard of them. But this song matching with the sound of thunder and lightning, but no rain, just makes things super eerie. It's kind of like an electric storm. Tubbs as Cooper and Burnett cross paths. Burnett doesn't even stop, doesn't even say anything, shoots Tubbs in the chest. He flies back onto the wall at the alleyway and then ends up face up on a pile of garbage bags as Burnett just keeps walking. It is so cold. It is such an intense sequence. Whew. My notes just say damn in all capitals with an exclamation mark because he leaves them in a pile of trash. At least it looks like the bags are closed, but still. This is when we cut to a very dreamlike, weird sequence. We see Crockett in all white shoes, walking by Castillo, all black, no shoes, with sunglasses on. Crockett is not wearing sunglasses. We just hear the score of Tangerine Dream, and we see this like overcast gray beach. We see Switek with like very frizzy hair in sunglasses looking down. We see a woman mourning with kind of like a black veil around her face. You can't see anything. We get a really good shot of Crockett looking into the distance in all white. And then this is the one that like really got under my skin and haunted my dreams. He's looking at a coffin propped up on Oh my God. So it's propped up. So the coffin is lying vertically. It is clear at the top. It is Tubbs inside banging the coffin, and you can see the steam and you can see it heat up as you can't hear anything, but you can see that Tubbs is trying to scream and say something because you can see it heat up. Oh my God, this really got under my skin. That is like everybody's worst nightmare. Poor Philip Michael Thomas for having to film that. I hope he only had to do like 1 or 2 takes and then just got out ASAP. This also made me think of Body Double. So yesterday I had to go to Beverly Hills for work. I know, sorry. As you can see me like swiping my hair. And I was like, oh, I always wanted to go to, it's like this kind of cute outdoor mall. It's very bougie. And it's where they filmed a very important scene of Body Double. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It's called the Rodeo Collection. So I went by and I was like taking some pictures of like the beautiful elevator. And I was like, oh, wow, that was my little like lunch break. That was really cool. And now that just reminds me of Body Double. Great movie. Please go check it out. Featuring Don Johnson's third and fourth wife, Melanie Griffith. I, again, am getting so creeped out by this. And you just hear like the wind. It's so strong, along with this Tangerine Dream score. Then we see Crockett, again, facing out. He's trying to get someone's attention, where we just see Castillo facing forward. It's like no one can see him except for Tubbs, who is lying in his coffin. Then, again, very much, I don't want to say ripping off, very much paying homage to Body Double, we see an open grave. When Crockett looks inside, oh, it's Crockett in a coffin with a clear top again. He wakes up in not really a cold sweat, but he wakes up next to Julia Roberts, who comforts him. Again, mistake number 1. I don't know why you did that. And we see him splash cold water on his face as Holly Wheeler is making sure that he's okay. I really wish they would put a little, I understand this is a television episode, not a movie, but there should have been a little bit more between Manolo and Holly Wheeler and like how much information she's relaying to him, because that's exactly what I think her job is there. Now, I do have some good news. Tubbs is okay. The pounds that the sergeant was referring to was a bulletproof vest. The doctor says that the bulletproof vest has, one more chance in her. The sergeant is not going to hear that, but I'm glad that the sergeant was really able to foresee what was going to happen and got Tubbs to wear that bulletproof vest. Tubbs is still, I don't want to say in denial, but he still can't wrap his head around what's going on.
You also told me it was dark.
Not that dark. I know what I saw, damn it.
So you're gonna call Castillo, I presume?
Yeah, right. Hey, guess what, Lieutenant? Crockett is here, and he's alive and using his old partner Tubbs for target practice.
Whew, that's a lot. And I'm just going to take a quick break right here. And we are back. Now, back at the Fort Lauderdale precinct, Tubbs is talking to the sergeant, just trying to piece this all together.
He was your partner. It just doesn't add up.
Yeah, I know. But the fact still remains. Somebody in here fingered me for a cop.
IED won't budge. I don't even know if they have an idea of who it might be.
I didn't want to have to tap him, but... Can I use your phone?
Now, if you're watching along to this episode, or again, you can follow along in the gallery, we see Tubbs talking to the sergeant, Chris Cooper, behind in the cubicle. Then, when Tubbs goes to call Castillo, that's who he's saying he's going to borrow the phone, make a call, we see our snitch make a call to Manolo to tell him, so much for target practice, because he's right here and he knows everything that's going on. By the time that the sergeant realizes Chris Cooper is gone, and now all this has come together. Chris Cooper was on the phone telling Manolo that Tubbs is alive and well. He knows Burnett's a cop. This is all happening, and now that realization is really going to hit. So Manolo says that he's going to set Burnett up with a gig. I might have crossed my wires, so if I said that earlier, I'll figure out in editing. This is the freelancer that Burnett is going to target, and that he's going to go with Chris Cooper. I am so sorry. I didn't even bother to learn the name of Chris Cooper's character. I just can only think of him as Chris Cooper. That Chris Cooper is going to go with him and show him the target. This sounds a little bit weird. You can see Burnett kind of like, what? As Tubbs and the sergeant head off to the gallery, knowing that they have made Burnett to be a cop and that he's in danger, we see Burnett and Chris Cooper out at the boat. As we see Chris Cooper loosening the rope as they're about to take off, they start to acknowledge that they're both getting on each other's nerves, and they both have fingered each other for being dirty cops.
A lot of aggro later.
What are you talking about?
Every time I take a ride with one of Manolo's pals, I start to get trigger spasms.
I don't blame you. I'm getting kind of sick of Manolo's crapola myself.
Maybe we could deal together.
I don't think so. I don't deal with dirty cops.
Look who's talking. You're good, Crockett, but you're not that good. You start him up.
Name's Burnett.
Yeah, whatever.
I couldn't really hear it during the clip, so let me just set the scene. We see Chris Cooper point his gun at Burnett after they exchange the whole dirty cop dialogue. Now, keep in mind, Burnett is fingered by Chris Cooper as being Crockett, but let him tell you in his own words.
That's B-U-R-N-E-T-T.
Now, I gotta say, this is a pretty epic scene where Burnett shoots him. Chris Cooper flies into the water. As you can see, the wide shot of the house and the dock, right as Tubbs has come, runs out and calls out for his partner one last time. Now, it's not lost on me as we wrap up this episode that scene you can hear in the background is the Angelina flashback. So Tubbs and Crockett have been through a lot these 4 seasons, Crockett especially this season, and him driving off in the speedboat as Burnett, that is how we wrap up season 4. And with that, let's get down to business. Let's start with some fashion. Like I said last episode, vengeance looks really good on Crockett, and especially this episode. I, for one, remember not really loving the Burnett era, but now that I'm older and I understand a little bit better, I'm really liking Burnett. I'm really liking these style choices. Now, obviously, you all know who I'm going to pick. Best dress was really hard because I was like, I have to give it to Sonny. He looks really great, really put together. Gutierrez's outfits, though, my Lord, that man knows how to command attention. Let's just say that. The gold chains, the sunglasses, the cigar, the shirts, the mesh turtleneck, yellow shirt. I don't even know how to describe this. Please, again, just go to the gallery. See-through mesh shirt. Again, that would be great in a Miami summer. I don't know if that's, a natural fabric or not, so you must smell terrible. But this whole look is incredible. Gutierrez knocks out of the park, even though he is my wild card choice. He's definitely the best dressed in my heart. Our wild card woman, once again, is going to be our lady sunbather, basic conduit between Manolo's Miami office and the Fort Lauderdale. And then I could not get over this shot of, the receding hairline and the sunglasses. I forget what it's called, but when sunglasses have the side to like really block out the sun, that is just a look. And I will give it up. I really enjoy the new car phone that Burnett has in his new car. I gotta say, I love that with the buttons on the outside, really just giving it their all. Now, again, Gina and Trudy weren't really featured much in this episode. They did look great in black as they were mourning Crockett. Holly Wheeler, I like her outfits, but nothing really stood out to me. So that's why I gave wild card to our bathing beauty, as it were. Now, music. I am once again, I want to say a little bit underwhelmed with the music choice of this episode. So Manolo's Party, it was Echo and the Bunnymen. The song was called Bed Bugs and Ballyhoo. Money God by Big Pig was when Burnett shot Tubbs in the alleyway. That was actually a great use because it was a very like high energy kinetic sound that really kind of made you feel on edge. Tangerine Dream, though, I do love. Of course, did I clip the dream sequence where it's used? Of course I did not. So I guess I would give it to Tangerine Dream. I was just kind of underwhelmed by the other songs. However, because I am kind of obsessed with myself, the fact that Marina was featured in this episode, chef's kiss. You know how I feel about Rico's Blues. So I will say, let me pick Alpha Centauri by Tangerine Dream. And then I'm going to pick Angelina, the flashback, the closing score of the episode. Those are going to be my choices for the episode. It's very hard not to choose myself. I tell you that. Now, Vice Tea. It is no surprise to any of my friends that are listening that I am a big Kiefer Sutherland fan. Therefore, I have not historically been a big Julia Roberts fan. I have also read a lot of blind items and a lot of gossip that she is closer to the nickname Tinker Hell in real life than she is to America's Sweetheart. However, she played the PR game wonderfully. She does have talent. I'm also a big fan of Eric Roberts, so it is hard for me to be impartial. I'm not going to give you the entire history of Julia Roberts. Obviously, I have linked the drama surrounding her marriage and the broken engagement and the cancellation of that wedding that was supposed to be on a backlot. It does sound really wild. Obviously, Kiefer was rumored to be cheating with a stripper, which she mentions in the Entertainment Weekly article. I'm like, I've heard that many times before. So I guess I am just siding with Kiefer Sutherland because it wasn't so much that she called off the wedding. It was that she called off the wedding. To be fair, they were very young. They were in their early 20s. And I think Kiefer Sutherland already had a daughter at that point. It was the scandal of breaking the wedding, breaking off the engagement, not so much leaving him at the altar. It was a few days before their wedding, but it was running off to Ireland with Jason Patrick. And I linked that podcast episode because obviously I listened to the entire thing because me. And Jason Patrick does try to play dumb. Like, I don't remember what happened. I don't remember where he went. And Kiefer Sutherland just peeps up like, Ireland. I was like, ooh, they may have obviously, forgiven what had transpired. It still doesn't change the fact that they were well-known friends. I don't want to say best friends because that has been reported, but they were very close until Jason ran away with Julia. That didn't last long. Obviously, she then married Lyle Lovett. Then she dated Benjamin Bratt. And oh my God, I should just link pictures of young Benjamin Bratt because she left, rumored to have left. I might get a cease and desist from her publicist. Who knows if I keep talking like this. She is rumored to have left beautiful, incredibly handsome, talented Benjamin Bratt for a married guy who was still married at the time. And this was the whole drama with the aloe vera shirt. This podcast is going to be like 25 minutes over. This was the shirt that she handmade. It was, like the plastic gel that you could put on shirts. I had one that I used to decorate my clothes for the Moffats. I had Moffat sweatpants written across the back. So I was just basically the trendsetter that created the Juicy Couture sweatpants. So I had that on, and I had like their names all over my shirts just about the Moffats. But she did this as a grown woman in public, and she was pictured by the paparazzi with a handmade shirt that says aloe vera. That was a message to Danny Motor's then wife, Vera, to grant him the divorce so he could then marry Julia Roberts. And they have been married, and they are still married up until this day, and they have 3 children. But that is kind of my Cliff's Notes classic gossip. But there are many podcasts, many interviews about the Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts drama. And there's a lot more that you could find on her. Again, I am trying to keep this as civil as possible. Huge Kiefer Sutherland and Benjamin Bratt supporter right here. Let's just say that. Chris Cooper, I couldn't find anything scandalous. Actually, it was like very sweet and sad that he has a memorial charity set up for his late son who lived with and battled cerebral palsy. Like, all around good guy, and him and his wife fostered dogs. It's very sweet. He seems like a very sweet man. Aside from that, I don't really have any tea on Antonio Fargas either. It seems like he's very much supportive of the arts. All good things. Huggy bear. I wish I had more gossip this episode, but that is how we round out and we finish season 4. So let's pick the quote of the episode.
I was just telling my people there that Sonny Burnett, he's the Henry Kissinger of the Dade County underworld.
Also, when Tubbs is questioning Doris and she tries to play dumb, quote 2.
Do you work for Anarchy Corporation?
No.
Anarchy Corporation, care of Doris Gumble, 120 Ocean Drive.
Okay, so I used to.
And then finally, quote 3.
You married?
Yeah, man.
Is it love?
It's legal.
And I'm going to give it to the quote that made me laugh the most when I was doing notes. The quote of the episode is...
You married?
Yeah, man.
Is it love?
It's legal.
And that is the energy we are going to bring into season 5. Thank you so much for liking, for supporting, for following me. I cannot believe that we are done season 4 and we are moving on to season 5. If you like Vice and Easy, don't forget to give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps eyeballs get connected. Thank you for liking and for subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me on Spotify, on YouTube, and any platform of your choice. If you don't see the platform, let me know. There is a contact form at the Vice and Easy website. You can also find everything on the Linktree link at my Instagram at Vice and Easy Podcast. You can also find me on TikTok, although that's been a little bit more dormant as of late. But maybe that's what I'll do. I need to, get some fresh blood out there, get some new TikToks, get some new posts, and just thank you for following along. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And can't wait to begin to break down the Burnett arc and season 5 with you soon. Take care, and as always.
Hey, man, Miami Wise is #1 new show.